Denzel Washington on one of the worst Oscar evenings ever.
I don't want to say what we talked about, but there but for the grace of God, go any of us.
And I'm so happy to be here tonight to just celebrate you. I couldn't just send a videotape. I had to be here.
Millions of dollars were contributed to his ministry by Tyler Perry.
I didn't even know that he was trying to build this youth center. I didn't even know it, but I know how important the youth are. So we were sitting in the service and I leaned up toward him and I said, I've just been touched to give $1 million.
Not only was T.D. Jakes preaching to the masses, but he was also mentoring the world's most influential celebrities. However, something changed. His name is now trending for all the wrong reasons, including burner phones, secret parties, abuse allegations, and even unexplained deaths. And Diddy's name keeps appearing next to his.
I would have been swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Have you gone through a time of swallowing where everything was overwhelming?
What really became of America's most influential pastor? Why did he abruptly quit and fall on stage? And why is this escalating issue involving his own son, alleged victims, and previous mentees? Once upon a time, T.D. Jakes was the pastor, not simply America's most well-known preacher. When the attention became too much, celebrities turned to this person. When things became tough, folks like Denzel Washington phoned him. Oprah Winfrey openly praised him for his spiritual leadership. Insiders in Hollywood used to mockingly refer to Jakes as the Black Pope, since he was so well regarded in the industry and he proudly donned the label for a time. People who could have picked any spiritual leader in the world trusted him because of his charm, his sermons that went viral before the term viral ever existed, and most importantly, his reputation. One instance that demonstrated his impact was after Will Smith's now famous slap at the 2022 Oscars. Denzel Washington spoke candidly about what transpired behind the scenes that evening in a clip from the T.D. Jakes Show.
You stepped in the middle of World War III. We were looking at Ukraine and it happened on the Oscars.
There's a saying, when the devil ignores you, then you know you're doing something wrong. Wait a minute, I'm not done now. You know, the devil goes, oh no, leave him alone. Man, he's my favorite.
My birthday is tomorrow. His wife's birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday!
Oh my God.
Ciao.
Speaking like a guy who had just seen one of his colleagues lose control on live television and who sought support from his pastor, his spiritual anchor, Denzel wasn't acting. That's how much of an impact T.D. Jakes had. People phoned Jakes instead of PR firms or attorneys when mayhem broke out. And Denzel wasn't the only one. Chaka Khan and other gospel icons practically praised him. She spoke about how Jakes' comments struck a deep, melodic chord with her in one interview.
I could watch him speak every day, and I would know D on him. I need him. I need somebody like that in my life.
The chorus even included Oprah Winfrey. At one point, she assisted Jakes in celebrating his 35th year in ministry, referring to him as a lighthouse, and told the audience that he was carrying the weight for all of us. A megachurch with over 30,000 members, millions of people watching online, influence, adoration, and A-list celebrities traveling to Dallas to hear him speak, Jakes had it all. In addition to being religious gatherings, his sermons were spiritual plays that were shared in boardrooms, barbershops, and brunch tables. His kingdom centered on the Potter's House became into a cultural institution rather than only a church. However, considerable temptation accompanies great access, and Jakes started to stray somewhere between being the leader of his flock and hanging out with media heavyweights. Not in public, not right away. However, those who had been around long enough saw a change. It began with the groups he was hanging out with, who were not the typical mix of pastors and gospel singers, but rather moguls, celebrities, and influential people with less savory backgrounds. One of Jakes' closest celebrity friends, Tyler Perry, once made news when he gave Jakes' church $1 million. On the surface, the moment seemed altruistic. Yet it caused silent astonishment. After a private discussion with Jakes, why was a director offering that much money? What precisely were they talking about in private? And why did the growing reports that Jakes would attend Diddy's notorious private parties coincide with that donation? Those stories appeared too crazy to be real at the time. This was Bishop T.D. Jakes. After all, the guy who famously said, "The only solution is prayer." However, the murmurs became louder. They began to follow him like an unshakable shadow, and Hollywood, which had previously supported him like a king or queen, started to distance itself. The stars who had formerly hailed him no longer appeared with him. Denzel, Tyler, Oprah. Without a single word, they all gradually moved away. In celebrity circles, the guy who had previously been the go-to source for healing and faith was now being portrayed as a warning. However, the true change that would unleash a torrent of controversy, embarrassment, and mistrust had yet to occur. And it would begin with an unanticipated link. Combs, Sean Diddy. In the past, T.D. Jakes was the preacher who could be respected immediately in any setting, whether at Hollywood, Wall Street, or Washington. His presence in those spaces, however, began to feel different with time. He was often seen standing close to Sean Diddy Combs, not because his preaching changed.
And I'm gonna lay my hands on you, Bishop. And he said, and then the is on the that. He's doing all of this, right? And then there's a woman on the dais.
And you been to these parties, right?
Oh yeah, I was there when he was doing the white parties in the Hamptons and the whole 9 yards. So I know what goes on at the parties. If, they probably got a little bit more freakier, as time went on, because they got to the point whereas that they didn't even care. It used to be secretly, where people used to go to, separate rooms and different rooms, and they wasn't doing that out in the public, but now they don't care. Men kissing men and all this other stuff. That's just crazy.
The connection between a megachurch pastor and a rap entrepreneur that first raised eyebrows quickly turned into something far more contentious and damaging. The internet began to hum with conjecture. Why was Bishop Jakes attending Diddy's infamously exclusive parties? Why had he taken the music executive's hefty donations? And why were rumors of something even more sinister taking on behind the scenes? You see, perhaps the most well-known Christian preacher in the United States is T.D. Jakes, the founder of the Potter's House, a multicultural, non-denominational church and humanitarian organization in Dallas. Nevertheless, Jakes' name became popular on social media when he was implicated in allegations made by the YouTube channel Tough News TV, which were then spread on TikTok, X, previously Twitter, and Instagram. Host Jermaine McKinley said in the video that he received an anonymous email that connected Jakes to Diddy, and not in the manner that most people would anticipate from a pastor. That email claimed that Cassie Ventura, Diddy's ex-girlfriend who filed and settled a startling lawsuit alleging years of abuse, had been assisting the FBI. As part of that help, Jakes allegedly turned over a burner phone and a USB drive that had tapes from Diddy's notorious parties, one of which Jakes was supposedly there. The email continued. It said, "I would want to inform you about the true nature of Diddy and Bishop Jakes' connection. Let's first acknowledge that Bishop Jakes is not divine. He is definitely a Freemason, just like Diddy was. And the reason I say so is because it seems that he has lost his privileges, protection, and authority. Don't get me wrong, however, the devil still speaks for his soul. That unpleasant fact is one he will never be able to avoid or avoid. In any case, I've heard that Diddy and Jakes conceal the true nature of their partnership. The email states that Kim Porter said in June 1983 that T.D. Jakes was charged with messing with a young guy just a year after he and his wife were married. The rumor is that in some way the whole situation was kept quiet. When a guy supposedly threatened to tell Jakes the truth in 1999, he inexplicably disappeared. According to reports, Pastor Blank said that the guy was bribed to remain silent. That same individual was found dead 2 years later, having been shot in the head. Allegedly, all of this occurred in Smithers, West Virginia's Emmanuel Temple of Faith. According to rumors, Jakes' local residents maintain that he has always been on the down low with males. There is even discussion of an older pastor called G. Additionally, according to McKinley, Cassie gave detectives damning evidence, such as a USB drive that had video from one of Diddy's sex parties and Kim Porter's burner phone. He said that Jakes attended one of those gatherings and had sex with many guys there.
So allegedly, Cassie has turned over evidence to the feds. Yes, to the feds. She has turned over videotapes, a USB drive, and Kim Porter's burner phone.
McKinley continued by saying that other male escorts were purportedly ready to support the accusations made against Jakes, and that a young man was ready to sue the bishop for alleged crimes committed while he was just 16. Alongside all of this, rapper and hip-hop musician Ma Dallas also shared his knowledge of Diddy and Jake's friendship. Hip-hop fans may be familiar with Mal's and Diddy's continuing spat. In the 1990s, when Malls was one of the top artists signed to Diddy's Bad Boy label, the two worked closely together. But in the early 2000s, things took a turn for the worst. Malls felt silenced, underpaid, and taken advantage of. He has been outspoken about these complaints, particularly when Diddy criticized the industry's disregard for black music in a statement at the 2020 Grammys. Malzek accused Diddy of depriving him of his publication rights for 24 years and referred to him as a hypocrite. He even said that Diddy rejected his offer of $2 million, 0 cents, to purchase them back and wanted considerably more. So what role does Pastor T.J. Jakes play in this, though? Malus claims that Diddy and the well-known pastor have an unexpected relationship. Malus made a shocking revelation in a new song called Oracle 2, The Liberation of Mason Betha. Diddy never paid me because he had an agreement with T.J. Jakes. He didn't want me to say what I'm about to say today because he knew I would be free one day.